So we're going to go quite a bit deeper. We're going to drill down to 200, 250, maybe 300 meters and try and get into those wider intercepts underneath. Because at that high grade, it doesn't take that much to really increase the resource numbers. So that's the focus there on Kalayi.
Welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Paul Barrett. He is the CEO of Rome Resources. And Paul, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so the company out with news today talking about raising just under £2 million in order to facilitate a drill program at your project. So let's talk about timing right now. Tell me a bit about the financing and why the need for it now.
Well, we've been drilling ever since the RTO, which was back in July of last year. So we were drilling all the way through until August. And then we did the work on the maiden resource. So that came out in November. We've had basically the drilling crews on standby waiting to get back in, and also the helicopters being on a big service. So there was a good reason for having that gap. But now everything's ready to roll again. So we've taken the opportunity. There was quite a lot of interest in the fundraise, quite a lot of interest in the tin story in general at the moment. It's quite good. So we're going to be drilling a very focused program, and we're going to start by the end of the month, basically, with the 2 rigs to start with.
Yeah, tell me a bit about the focus of it, because these are really high priority targets you're looking at.
They are. That's right. So there's two discoveries. Kalayi is pure tin. And it's 3 zones, steeply dipping zones that have been identified, and really quite high grades. I mean, we're seeing some of the narrower intercepts up to about 11 or 12% tin. So there's some quality tin mineralization in there, and we know from the Alphamin mine, from the Impana mines, that the widths in these high grade intercepts do increase quite dramatically as you go deeper. So we've only really been drilling the shallow part of it. On average, our intercepts have been about 80 meters or so depth. So we're going to go quite a bit deeper. We're going to drill down to 200, 250, maybe 300 meters and try and get into those wider intercepts underneath. Because at that high grade, it doesn't take that much to really increase the resource numbers. So that's the focus there on Kalayi. The other focus on Mont Agoma is the fact that with one of our last holes in the campaign, we encountered a new zone in the eastern side, which was a tin zone, pretty high grade, even though it was in the weathered zone at the surface. So we're drilling now to chase that one as it plunges down to the southeast, and also at the same time, again the same model, drill deeper in Mont Agoma itself, get below the copper and into more of the tin. So there's 2 separate programs really with similar objectives but slightly different.
Yeah, I know that when you released the resource update or the resource, you were suggesting that there was a lot more to the project that you had to look at, and I guess that's what really the story here is, that only scratched a small part of really what this project's about. There's some size here, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we're wrapping around the same granite system that the Alphamin project wraps around, and they're very similar. They had similar high grade but relatively skinny intercepts, shallow, and then deeper it goes. The closer you get to the granite, the closer you get to the source, there's a lot more mineralization. So it's just a long trend. It's it's a very, very close analog. So having drilled really these shallow intercepts, I mean, we've still got a long way to go, and the reason is Alphamin are producing underground down at about 600 meters. So we got a long way to go to get there, but we think we'll get these high grade intercepts well before we have to drill that deep.
Yeah. And lastly, just you mentioned the tin story. I think it's important to remind people just about tin and where it's at and why this project remains such a viable one.
Yes, well, tin is a relatively small market worldwide, but it's very high value. I mean, it's roughly $37,000 a ton at the moment. Very, very sought after. There's no real replacement for tin in electronics, and of course, electronics with AI are a big business now, and there's a lot of demand going forward. All of the kind of demand expectation is really strong into 2030, and because it's a small market, it does get hit by supply problems in Myanmar, Indonesia. It doesn't take much to really destabilize the market. So, we go by Alphamin next door. I mean, they're producing, they're paying dividends. It's a really good cash machine. And so, yeah, a pure tin play with high grades is definitely quite compelling.
Absolutely. Paul, thank you so much. Good update. Good luck on the financing and good luck on the drilling as well. I look forward to hearing more about that when the time is right. Okay.
Okay, thanks very much, Steve.
All right. Paul Barrett, the CEO of Rome Resources.